But I want to mention that having the type of rules of origin that that Chin mentions with, I agree with 100%, that's part of creating lasagna, I think, in these agreements, is proving to be a difficult task. One of the big challenges of the TPP, for example, which I think is an agreement that is closer to sort of what we'd expect to be global norms, one of the big fights is the yarn forward rule in terms of textile trade. Now, as many of you know from the NAFTA agreement, yarn forward rule essentially means 100% rules of origin in the clothing industry. And there are a lot of political reasons for that behind this, but this is an example of a very bad rules of origin policy that hopefully could be ironed out. But again, the potential for a bad agreement still exists. Thanks.
Okay, probably time for one more question before we turn back to our experts for closing remarks. The gentleman on the left front row. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. My name is Fermin Fauch. I represent the EU-ASEAN Business Council and the EU Chamber of Commerce. I'm based here in Kuala Lumpur. My question is for both sides, the affirmative and the negative, and it has to do with the lively debate that Professor Plummer mentioned, which is the adoption of a single currency. My question has to do, shall we just scrap it, forget about it for other regional blocs, or shall we still pursue a debate on single currency?
Okay, Mike, over to you.
I remember once presenting a paper on that very topic in 2002 to the American Economic Association meetings. And it was all based on economics in Europe, using Europe as a benchmark. And Europe was doing very well at the time. And the answer was, well, if you look at the economics, it's pretty much the same, right? ASEAN has its strength, is at least as good a candidate as Europe would have been. It's just that there are some institutional matters and things. And I remember the chairman of that panel thanked me for my presentation and then said, I think this is going to be one of the most important topics of the 22nd century. And it turns out that he may have been correct. So I don't think that, I think there's going to be a long pause before, particularly what we see going on in Europe. Now, a lot of what's going on in Europe, and you hear about the euro, really isn't about monetary union per se. It's about a lot of other things, both in terms of real sector reforms, in terms of politics and such. So I think that once we come out of that, revisiting this might be possible. And hopefully it'll be done in my lifetime, and I hope to live a long time. But I think it's a long-term sort of question.
Okay, so I tell you what, before we get to the closing remarks, I just want to quickly weigh in here. Ben's brought up, this is a couple of minutes ago, right? What is this all for? This is for the polity. It's to increase livelihoods, lift more people out of poverty, create jobs, etc. But Katib, when you were talking about